Father's blessings that our coming together has been divinely arranged. And so may it be that our interaction, our time together, the fruits of our presence together, will be delicious fruit for those who will encounter, either through reading or in whatever way. Bless this project in its entirety. Bless John and Turia in their work. And bless us in Montesaja in our way. And God bless those who are here and those who will later come to be in the presence of the fruit of this work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hallelujah, amen. Thank you.
So I'm sitting with Mooji at Monte Sahajo, his very impressive community in Portugal, deep in the countryside. I've spent a wonderful day here in the community, and we're going to talk together for this project, Meeting with Remarkable People. And there's no question that Mooji is a remarkable people. Since many years, we met, I think, in Lucknow in about 22 or 3 years ago.
Yes.
We met again in South India at Arunachala about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. In fact, we met several times, and it feels like coming home to an old friend. We had our moments today, and it's very beautiful we're sitting together.
Thank you.
So I don't know really, but as I was in your Shiva temple today, I saw a photo of your mother and your father, and I understand you were born in Jamaica. Perhaps we start in Jamaica, and we unfold together as you decide, basically.
Okay. Well, my first thing is to thank you for that. I must admit, I am not so much an accurate history recaller, you know.
Right. That's okay.
I don't know if that's to do with age, but it's also perhaps to do with interest as well a bit.
Yeah. No, I understand.
But what I can say, I was born in Jamaica, in the northeast area, in a place called Port Antonio, which is the nearest point in Jamaica to Cuba, which is about 90 miles away by sea.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up there, was born in, I think I said in 1954. To my father, a local Chinese man from Hakka Chinese people, and my mother was from the Blue Mountains, from the what's called the Maroons in Jamaica. So I grew up in Port Antonio. I did not really have any recollection of my mom because she left Jamaica when I was just a child. In fact, she had a longing to go to England. At that time, much appeal was coming from England because Jamaica was a colony. For people to come, I think after the war, to help to rebuild the country and so on. So nurses and carpenters and builders and so on. Well, there was a kind of an open channel for them to go to the United Kingdom. And she left. I was only a child, maybe 1 year old, and she left me with my father, to my father's delight, because he wanted to. He was very happy with me, you know. And so I grew up with him in Port Antonio. Until I was 16. And 16 years old, I traveled. My mother came after many, many years. She got in touch, or I heard also some news of her. I was never thinking about her much. And then it opened up my heart to the possibility that I would get to see her at some point. But what happened is that before she left Jamaica, before she left me as a child, she brought one of her younger cousins, a woman named Eunice, from up in the Blue Mountains, a place called Cornwall Barracks, up in the Blue Mountains, to come down to the town to take care of me as a child. So she was the one I knew as mother, in that kind of maternal role. And she looked after me as though I was her own child. So, yeah.
Right. And then coming to England when you were 16?
What happened was my mother herself, she came to Jamaica, and we took out the papers. I had no passport or nothing like that. I'd never traveled. The furthest I'd gone is to Kingston, which is like 60 miles away from my town. Feels more like 200, going through the Blue Mountains. But she came and began taking out papers. We went to the offices in Kingston to apply for passport and all the necessary requirements, So we got everything together, and then I traveled back with her to United Kingdom, to London. I was 16 years old. This is in 1969. And, long travel. I'd never flown before. It was not the most pleasant experience for me. We had big turbulence flying and so on. So nobody tells you about these things.
Right.
And then we arrived in London. And I remember that at immigration, they stopped me, actually, because they couldn't find one stamp that was needed. I think it was called entry permit stamp. We did not have it. So I was held back. And I could see my other brothers and sisters who I never knew, because after my mother came to England, she also, she had another, family, and I'd not met them then. And so I saw them just briefly as I'm passing a window, waving like this, like this, and then boom, out of view. That was it.
Right.
And then I was held in the passport in the airport for some time, hours and hours and hours and hours. And finally, they came and called my name, Anthony Mooji. They didn't know where I was going, but it was a long walk. Came out of the airport into a van and was driven again for seemed like maybe half an hour. I went to one place that looked like a jail.
Oh, you were in a government
prison.
Van?
Yes.
Not your family's van?
No, not a family van.
Wow.
So
welcome to England.
Welcome to the UK, Royal Highness. So I was taken to, I don't know what they would call it now, but it was like cells were there, and I was put in one, and door, I said, whoa, that's it. And it was just, I must have been very, very empty, I think, because you just take things in your stride. What happens when you're that age. I was not, making any fuss at all. Just going along. You tell me, turn left, turn right, go down, go up. You could have just pulled me along with a straw. I just hold on the straw. You follow anywhere you go. So I stayed the night there. In the morning, they came and they put some food under this plate, just in. I had breakfast, like scrambled eggs on toast, and some tea. I didn't see who gave them to me. I had tea, and then after this, they said I should get ready. And then I got back in the van again. On the way, walking, I picked up a little stone. I remember picking up a little stone, and I put it in my pocket. I was even thinking, is it okay? I didn't want to be caught to pick up a stone. put it in my pocket, and then I went back to the airport. I took him to the airport and said, I have to wait here. And then, like about 3 hours later, someone like a flight attendant, air hostess, she came and she says, "Hello, are you Anthony?" And she was, so wow, this voice, like human voice. She was very soft. "Are you Anthony?" I said, "Yes." Did you have something to eat this morning? I said, "Yes." "Would you like a Coca-Cola, and would you like some sandwich?" And very soft and caring voice. So, and then I said, "Yeah." And then she brought some things, plus maybe some chocolate and things like this. And she explained to me that I was refused entrance in the UK because I did not have the right stamp, and that unfortunately I had to go back home, and that I could apply for this entrance permit. It's not difficult, but you're not allowed in the country without it. So she explained these things, and I was on the plane back to Jamaica. And I arrived in Jamaica, Before leaving, I had send-off party and everything in my town, everybody. And then, it's like 2 days later, I'm back, like this. So, major embarrassment. "Hey, I thought you went to England." I didn't even want to say that I did, but I had my little stone to prove it. Yeah, that was a bit, but somehow it was just what was happening. And because I didn't fight with it, I was not confused and distressed or nothing like that. I just took it like that. So I don't know how that happened, but went back to Jamaica, and after maybe another 6 or 7 months or so, and then I went to Kingston and I got a stamp. And that was a very, very, very good thing for me, because that experience, because of this, I never took it for granted that anywhere you go, things are going to happen the way you might expect. It's and it stayed to me all these years. So I returned, of course, to England, and I got through. I met my mom again and my brothers and sisters for the first time. I'd seen them, and to hold them and to hug, and they were very warm and so on. So we drove back from Heathrow to Brixton, and that was my first home in the UK, 95 Brixton Hill. Sometimes when I go back, I take some other friends and say, "I used to live here." And it was a very, very a shabby place. Behind there was an Indian shop, a printing shop, owned by a man called Mr. Jason and his sons. And at the back they had this place that very, very, that was our home. So my mother lived, and it was shabbier than the place I lived in Jamaica, to be honest with you. That was a bit of a surprise. But again, we took it in our stride, and I went to live there. My mother at that time, and for the rest of her life also, she was a church community, Seventh-day Adventist church. So, in a sense, they were a very big part of my landing in England, because they're a very, very warm church community, and they, just take you in and just wrap themselves around you in this pure love, and so I felt very much cushioned by that. And alongside going to school, we had a lot of friends in church and so on, and it was very beautiful time. Different, strange time in some ways too, because I wasn't used to the cold, and and the life in England is actually very different from how you would be when you're in Jamaica. Jamaica, you're much more free, much more open, spend a lot of time outdoors. In England, it wasn't like that. And I came in.
Were you in any way aware of any kind of racial prejudice?
Mm-mm.
You
That
were
was not in my
protected by your
experience.
family, I guess.
Not overly protected by them. We lived on the main street on Brixton Hill, 95 Brixton Hill. That you're in the fullness of society there,
All right.
And but I did not encounter that at all. I went to school to make some pocket money. There was a shop opposite. It was a newsagent's, and I first started. They tell you can go and deliver papers before going to school. I did that for a little bit, And then and from the church, they used to have their own magazine, Seventh-day Adventist magazines, one called Awake, and there was another one, Our Times. It's called Our Times, and one was called Awake. There were two of the kind of magazines produced by the Seventh-day Adventist churches, sort of international churches. And we used to go out, me and my brothers would go out of, sometime way out of town on the underground, go into some, on the outskirts of London or something, and knock on doors and show them the magazine, ask people to like to buy a magazine of Our Times and,
Right.
Awake magazine. And, yeah, we sold quite a bit. You have some pocket money, you get like, I don't remember how much it was, but a little money, it was good.
And of course, at that time in London was sort of waking up out of the 50s, the 60s, it was the 70s, I think you were.
I was just at the beginning of the 70s.
And London was swinging London in those days, yeah?
Well, it wasn't swinging about my part of town, that part of swinging. We have our own culture. It was very, very much, we had Brixton Market.
Right.
Brixton in London was very Afro-Caribbean, communities there.
Right.
So it was rich in the kind of fragrances you'd get in Jamaica, music and just the kind of shops that you'd see in Jamaica, but much more opulent, I think, much more opulent in London. You see foods from everywhere and Indian cultures and so on. You meet them, but it was a strong time for music and politics and all this type of thing.
And you personally, you were involved in art. I mean, art started to develop at that time.
Yeah, I was playing around from Jamaica, little things, but I wasn't so much into it at that time. In 1969. 1970s, just kicking around footballs and stuff like that, and I was an athlete at school in Jamaica, did a lot of athletics and table tennis at sort of like competitive levels, so we grew up with that.
Right.
Quite a lot of physical activities.
Right.
Yeah.
So what were you, besides kicking footballs, what were you doing in your 20s, I guess, in your 20s?
No, that would be like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It would be a few years being in England before I reached my 20s. Went to college, went to school, Kennington School for Boys. That was quite a strong thing. That was just at the outskirts of Brixton, and then later on I went to further education college in Waterloo, the Cut Waterloo. These are all famous places, not for me then, but that's where I went to college, studied there, and I started to see that how the life started to spread out, because I had very early on, I had my first son,
Ah.
Yeah, I had a son there.
So you were married when you were around 20?
No, not married. Not married.
Not married.
No, not married. I had my first, my son there. And then after this, I had my second son. And then later on, I would have my daughter, the one who is here now.
Oh, right.
And and then I was married. I was married to her mother then.
Right. And you supported the family from artwork or some other?
No, that would have taken me up right now to after college, and my ex-wife, she was working in Shell, the oil company in Waterloo.
Ah, okay.
And through her, we kind of met at college also. And she got me to some work, summer work there in the graphics department. I was just spotting old negatives and stuff like this. But it came one Christmas. It came that there were all the departments were making Christmas cards, and I made some caricatures of all the people in my own area, and everybody liked it, And then it got around, and some of the big bosses at Shell, they called me in, actually. And just said, well, we'd just like to talk to you. How long does it take you to make these kind of caricatures and so on? And I said, take me a little time. It's not, I'm quite quick with it, And then they explained that they would, they had some of the big bosses, the big guys, they have everything, and they offer some time to travel to other countries. They're moving them to other countries, or they're leaving, they're retiring, and so on. And they thought it would be a very good
leaving
present to make a caricature of them. So I started doing those caricatures.
Right.
So then I stopped working at Shell because I stayed home and made those. That was big fun for me, and framed them and took them in, and they make all these presentations and so on. So I was doing that for a while. That's Shell. So after this, one day I was up in the West End of London, and in Charing Cross Road, the National Portrait Gallery. Walking up there, I saw some artists working on the street, making portraits on Charing Cross Road. I was looking at them making these portraits, and I thought, but I could do this, Because I was looking for something to do, and I didn't want to work in a building where I felt trapped, And that just felt really good. They seemed to have a very flamboyant life out in the open, in the middle of the West End of London. So I went to one of my brother's college and said to him, if he got some of his friends, I'd like to practice, just to see if I could make a portrait in half an hour. So I did some practice, a few of them like that, and I felt that I was good enough to have a go. And then I went to Leicester Square one time with my brothers, well, two of them, and they came just to be company with me, the easel and everything set up on the road. And I had some sample portraits I'd made of them and so on. I remember the first portrait I made. It was a fantastic feeling for me. Like, I can make some money out of this thing.
Right.
So I started like that, and I liked it. I was good enough to make a good living from that. I did it for many, many years.
Right. Wow.
But every time I may touch on something, it could spread in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of other things that happen. I would say very important thing for me too. But I would not be able to just gather them up like that.
No.
Maybe one significant thing is in 1985, whilst working on the street as well, making portraits, I was at home one Sunday morning, and my mother called, and it was very early, like 6:30 in the morning, and she told me that my sister was shot, just been shot. And it just sounded so strange, so surreal. I said, what do you mean she's been shot? He said, she's been shot by the police, and that I need to come to her house. There's a road called Normandy Road, about a mile and a half from where I lived then, say 2 miles. So we immediately jumped in the car and drove down there, and I went to her house. So when I got there, it was very quiet, Sunday morning. I saw just one policeman standing outside. And then that was the first hint that, it's not a dream. And I went to the door and he asked me, sorry, can I help you? And I said, I am the brother of, Cherry Gross. And he said, okay, go in. And we went in. And it seemed very strange. There was a policewoman, and she was putting on her hat. On Lee, my nephew, was here recently. He was only a young boy, and she was playing with the kids. Like, I thought, this is very strange. And I asked my niece, what's happened? And they said that Mom was shot. They broke into the house looking for my one nephew of mine, and then she was in bed with her children, sleeping. They all slept together. And they heard the commotion, so she got up to see who it is, and the police was inside the house quickly. And then she sort of did that, and they shot her, and they went through her chest and came through her spine. So it sounded like she was shot twice. She looked like it was shot once. So she was in hospital, and Went to the hospital. I saw her. She looked really she was very quiet, but she was conscious. And I asked what had happened to her, and she told me, I asked the doctor, he said that there looked like there were 2 wounds, one in the top and one in the back. And later it turned out that there was 1 bullet that went through her spine. So as a result, she was paralyzed from under her armpits here all the way down. She was like this. So it was a strong time. My brothers and sisters were there. Her children were there also. And we were driving back now about sort of like 3 miles back to her house. And we were talking like, what's going to happen here? What are we going to do? Because, this is something that the newspaper must be told. We don't know how. We are just simple people. We don't know what to do. But as we turned the corner of the main road and entered onto Normandy Road where she lived, it was just like very surreal again. The place was full of people. And it's all photographers and police. And I thought, what is this? Everything seemed strange for me. Mm-hmm. When we got up there, then we stepped out the car, and then many reporters, they came up first to my mother because she was one of the first people out. And they started to ask her, you're the mother of Cherry Gross. What has happened? What has happened? And then she became quickly overwhelmed by all of this, and she could not speak. She started crying and so on. And then my sister also started crying, and the nieces started crying. Everybody started crying because it was just so strange, the whole thing. But when they saw the police and they saw the reporters, then the impact of what had happened then just came crashing in. So of all of us, I was probably the most, kind of able to talk. So they came, they started talking with me, and I could answer very lucidly with them. And so they just singled me out. I was automatically put in the place of the spokesperson for the family, Mm-hmm. And then from there, they found where I lived also. And there was a BBC news people outside my house, and all my neighbors were looking what was happening. And it was a very, very strong moment, because it was a time when there used to be a lot of racial incidents concerning the police and Afro-Caribbean people. Many things had happened like that. And this was like the last straw for a lot of people. And I was in the house, and then some people came to me and said, it's really, the atmosphere is very, very dense in the town in Brixton, and that you could cut it with a knife. It was so thick, and I thought, oh no, we can't have this. And I sort of went down to try and see if we could do something to stop this, because things like this have happened before, maybe 10 years before and so on.
You had the feeling there could be a kind of riot out of that.
It was just feeling like this, because it was not a single incident. There were other things that happening, and there was a time of this thing called the sus laws in London, where they could just stop you and search you right anywhere on the street without any reason. And it was happening a lot to Afro-Caribbean men, Jamaican men as well, too, on the street. There was sometimes, some people had pull their trousers down and things. Not nice, very, very not good. And so there's a lot of resentment was building up in the community. And this was just a trigger. So when I walked into Brixton, I could see that it was just thousands of people on the street. All kinds of people also, English people, but predominantly Caribbean people, a lot of young people with things on and stuff like this. And I just knew this is not good, So I went down to the police station, and I just felt like, please let me talk to these people. We can pacify this, in a short time, And they were on horses and everything, and riot shields. First time I saw like this. Mm-hmm. And he said, no, it's too late for that. It's too late for that. Nothing had started. Then I walked down a little bit more, and I saw there was many, many people on the street, and it was just the tension was very, very true, that it was very dense. And then somebody shouted out that they just heard on the news that Cherry Gross had died,
Really?
Yeah, they said they heard, the news Chergos had died. And it was so strong that I also believed it, even though I'd seen her before and she didn't look so life-threatening. And in that moment, everything erupted into flames. One of the biggest uprising like this, and all over. It was just completely crazy time in Brixton.
And had she in fact died?
No.
She hadn't?
No. And so it was from working on the street as a street artist, I was just thrown into this another world of politics and so on. And because actually I was interviewed quite a lot of times, and we never really asked for anything like vengeance or this and so on. I was very calm and said that we are just waiting to see that justice is done, and that like this, and very calm and so on. So we had a lot of support from everyone about this, and it was another life-changing period for me.
Right.
I never went back on the street, actually.
Right.
Straight. I have had this type of thing where things have been so striking that your life just changed direction, very, very angular, right off course.
Right.
And so this was one of those times.
And did she recover to some extent, or did she stay
Well,
paralyzed?
she remained paralyzed until she died a few years ago from her injuries. And throughout all this time, the police, they would not, some compensation was made to her, but they would not admit that they were in the wrong until recently, just not long ago. They said that, her death was directly linked to being shot, when the coroner said this thing. Then they issued an apology publicly, that, like this. And now her son, who came here very recently, Lee, is so beautiful. He was only a child at the time.
Right.
Now he's going now and having, meeting many of the top police people and their training unit, talking about, how to resolve conflicts with them, and to say what it was like for them growing up. It's been very, very good, in fact. And again, there are different parts of that story, but from my angle, that was a very strong part of it.
Right. Well, we can't wait to know what happened next, actually. It's becoming 1 minute by 1 minute.
Well, there's been kind of closure pretty much on the political side of that.
Right.
On the emotional side, also, it takes its time. Each one meet that in their own capacity, Are we okay talking like this? You are okay with that kind of talk, or are we going on too much?
But I think it's okay. I mean, you can put as much detail in as you feel to.
I'm very easy about all of this.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't quite know where we are, but in the 90s you came to India, yeah?
So before that, what happened is that there was a year later, in the center of my town is a church called St. Matthew's Church, an Anglican church.
Right.
And they had commissioned me to make a stained glass, used to make stained glass in those days too, and make a stained glass window for the chapel.
Right.
It was like a sort of 6 or 8 piece section. And so I surrendered the design for it, and they accepted it, and I made a stained glass for that chapel, which is still there now.
Right.
And what's the link?
But that wasn't connected to your sister, or
yes,
it was?
Yes. Because what happened is that the vicar from the church actually came into my life at that time, because he just came and said that I would like to be a friend to your family.
Yeah.
I did not have any background of going to speak on the national places and stuff, and these were some key players came in from angels, I would say. They come in, and they really helped to walk with us as a family. They're a very simple, ordinary family, and to support us along the way through all the stages we had to go. Sometimes to the Prime Minister's office, to make a sort of like I don't know what you call it now, petition and things like this, and all this kind of thing.
Right.
So he was the one who said, "I would like to commission the church to commission you to make this thing."
Right.
And now there's a link with that now.
And
So,
he became a friend. I mean,
yeah,
is that
yes.
Michael or is that somebody else?
No. This was Barry Tolley.
Oh,
He was
okay.
Barry Tolley. Then from here, one of the people who was also helpful to me, one time they asked me that there's a gallery that is, the woman wants to open a gallery, and they don't have much experience. I don't have much experience at gallery also. But he felt, it would be really good for us to be in touch. So I said I went across and I saw this also in my town by the big park, the 198 gallery. And I went there and we got on very well. And she wanted to put an exhibition on, and she wanted to know if I would organize one. And I put an exhibition called 5 Jamaican Artists.
Huh.
That was the first exhibition. I was busy helping with this exhibition.
Right. And you were one of the 5 artists also?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
One evening I came back from being at the gallery, and my girlfriend at the time, she told me somebody came here earlier today and was inquiring about the stained glass in our window. He saw that it was a new piece, and so they said, look, is the artist living here? And she said, yes, but he's not here right now. And she gave me this news. He would like to come back and say hello to me because he's also a stained glass maker. So I met him. When I met him, he knocked at the door. I met him. He's told me, my name is Michael, and I live just around the corner from you. I also make stained glass. I live in a church. I said, a church? A church around here? He said, well, not the kind of classical looking church, but my house is like a church. We have it's room actually. He had a flat downstairs, and he said, we use it as a church on Sundays, and But he said, we talked a bit, and he showed me some of his work. He also made these huge charcoal drawings depicting scenes from the Bible, which I thought they were just amazing. I said, wow, can I include some of your work in this exhibition? Because he's from Caribbean background. And that's how we did it. He stayed with me and supported us through the exhibition. It was a successful exhibition. And then we started meeting, and he started to talk to me, from his faith experience, and, like miraculous for me. I really loved this guy. In a short time, I was hungry for what he was sharing, because I felt so much peace from him. And to speak with someone who I didn't get the impression they were trying to convert me, just sharing. And I also grew up with the Bible quite strongly. So he was coming to my place quite, maybe say twice a week. This went on for months. And then one day, while visiting one Sunday, we talked, and it was a very rich conversation, again about Christ and, life and so on. And when he was about to leave, I asked him, Michael, when you pray next time, will you pray for me? And he says, yes. But we can do this right now. I said, okay. So he stepped over to me. I stood up, and he put his hand on my forehead, and he prayed. Beautiful prayer, I can't remember. But when he stopped, I also prayed and said, please help me. I want to discover this. I want to know you in my heart, And that was amazing. And that was the beginning, I would say, of my real life of knowing God, not as an idea, but as experience.
And how old would you have been by then?
That was in 1987. That's like 2 years after my sister was shot. No?
Right.
And so 1987.
So you were about 35?
1954 to 1987 is what? 33. About 33 years old.
Right.
And so, it was this very powerful experience when he left the house, and I was just sort of sitting in this space of total silence, and the most beautiful feeling I could ever recall, like so profound. And he left, and it was like maybe left about 7 o'clock in the evening, and I did not want to go to bed at all. I didn't want to. I just felt if I slept, this feeling was going to go.
Right.
That was it. But eventually I stayed up as late as I could, because it was just as though I was cocooned in this warm spirit water or something.
Right.
Like this.
Right.
And but I fell asleep, of course. And in the morning I woke up, and I was in the room, and I was looking. I saw something that looked like a sword coming into the room. I thought, and it was in the curtain. There was a little split, and the sunlight was coming in, and it was just like a fine line coming in, and I could see all these little particles of dust, in it. And I was looking at that for quite a little bit, looking. I thought, wow, it's like it. But all the feeling felt quite internal at that time.
Right.
And I opened the window, and I felt, wow, it's like I was never seen the sun before. I never seen it like this before, or felt it while I'd seen it inside. And then I went out. I felt I want to go out. I had to go out, and because the feeling was still there. The feeling was still there, to my surprise. I went out walking, and the feeling was still there. I went to the park. The feeling was still there. I came back. The feeling was still there. This deep, deep peace, and it has never gone away. Actually, it's never gone away. It's been like this.
Wow.
This peace was there.
Right. That's very beautiful, because that, in one way, would suggest some kind of Christian connection, but in another way, it seems like it was not really to do with teachings or something. It was some kind of moment.
Yes.
It was your moment.
Let me say a little bit about that then, because although Michael is a Christian, and so on, and he shared with me, and I'm very familiar because I grew up with these stories also. So he wasn't just talking stories, but the references. I was on very common ground with him,
Yeah.
But he was so much more something subtler than that. I was feeling something from him, not just words and like that. And so after this, the impact of this, I started going to his church for a while,
Right.
and it was very charismatic, unlike Seventh-day Adventist church, a lot of things and the spirit and falling over. But the preacher there was not Michael. He had a style that I was not comfortable with. I felt it was very powerful, but yet it was kind of a bit aggressive. And he was speaking also about like the Muslims, like they are our enemies basically.
Right,
they're not
right.
good and so on. I didn't like that because
Right.
I was used to being with people from all over the world and so on. No? And so I kept coming. But from being in the center of the room, I started to move to the edge of the room, to the door, then in the hallway, and then I left.
Right.
Because what was clear in this experience is that God is inside my heart. And this was very clear for me, that God is inside my heart.
Right.
And that was a very powerful thing. I started to talk with God. He wasn't talking back, but he was here. It was like, God is in here, and I am in here, and we live in this house together.
I mean, this is a kind of, for me, a bit incredible story, because, of course, you're quite known probably publicly for your connection to India, to Papaji Ramana Maharshi, and now you're telling this Christian kind of story. And of course, today I was in your Christ chapel, and you've made incredibly beautiful paintings in there. In fact, the whole chapel, I could say, has a certain energy, and it's not exactly a Christian teaching or even a Christian chapel, but there's an amazing energy in there, which I can feel directly maybe came from this situation with Michael.
Yes, it was like this, because even when I left I was also baptized by them, but when I started to step away from the group, because I felt somehow that I can't step away from Christ, I can't step away from God. That was something here, like pure energy inside. No? And I can't step away from from even the teachings. I can't step away, but from the group, I was not feeling so much like that. And I remember being met occasionally by someone from the group, especially one of the leaders, and they would come and say, like, talk as though you're abandoned. Why did you abandon Christ? I said, what are you talking about? I can't abandon Christ, like this. And but I grew away from that, and I started to walk in this kind of energy field of this deep peace, and it was not so much teachings. I was just in this. Michael gave me a Bible. And that's how I know that it was 1987, because he wrote it in 1987, this New Testament NIV Bible. And, I read that, and for the first time I read the entire Bible from beginning to end. I was hungry, and I just read through the whole thing. And I was not used to reading. I'm not attracted to books, really, So I read through the Bible. And then I started to meet also like Indian people in the market. There was an incense man called Sunny who was selling incense, and I was attracted to that, so I started buying incense, and like that started to develop a little bit. And then the Muslims were just coming into England from American Muslims, a lot of black Muslims, and they were on the market, and they were giving away books. Like I said, whoa, big books they're giving for free. I said, wow, that's very generous, about the Holy Prophet Muhammad and the Holy Quran and so on. And there was some fear towards that. But then the first one I got from them, I saw one says, the gospel. I said, the gospel of Christ, Jesus, Jesus in Islam. I saw a book from them. I thought, there's a bridge here,
Right.
Then I found, I started to read that, and then at first a lot of fear came. Like, wow, what are you doing, What are you doing, You're giving up your connection with God, Why you looking at these Muslim things? But something was compelling, and I felt a lot of threat inside my being, like, I'm going to do something really wrong. But there was this fascination also, because I could feel the dedication of the people, of Islam. So I took this book, and I even prayed before I opened it. Please don't let me make a mistake. I can't separate from you. But I opened it and I started to read, and then that went, and I felt more sort of like comfortable with what I was reading, And it was strong, some things, but it was another angle. I saw that they were not anti-Christ and not anti-Christian, Maybe they didn't speak about Christians so much, but they were talking about Christ not as the biological Son of God, but like this. But it was that he was sort of like it was metaphorically, like this kind of stuff. But I could read it, I could feel it also. And then I started to meet. I found about Guru Nanak. Sort in one place, in one off license. I went to buy some Coca-Cola. I saw this thing. I saw this little booklet of Guru Nanak. I said, Guru Nanak, wasn't it Guru Nanak? Look, and I discovered Guru Nanak in these small booklets. So something began to widen, and I had a natural easiness, knowing that there was only one God. I had that natural easiness with this, that it was expressed in different ways. So that felt very good. Something began to open up, and I've discovered about Ramakrishna also. I began to discover about these different Paramahamsa Yogananda. I started to discover these things. So
and was that the time you were going to Watkins? There's the story.
Yes. Actually, before this, I'd gone into one Christian bookshop and looking for, because I wanted to understand what's happening here with me. What is this kind of like I'm just inside this cocoon of blessed feelings. And I went to one bookshop, Christian bookshop, and I saw many books. I saw, wow, so many people have discovered this also. But it was all different things as well too. Even in the shop, they had some books on angels and runes and rune stones and I bought one book, a discussion between a priest and a philosopher, and this kind of it's the most boring book in the world. I couldn't read it. And so like this. So I went up to. I actually left the bookshop because at one point it just felt like all the words in all the books were just kind of like all speaking at the same time, and it was just like I just had to get out. And I never went into another shop before. I wasn't used to going to bookshops. But then nearly 1 year later, I don't know how long it was, I went in the center of London. I found this bookshop and I went in, and it was Watkins. That's when I discovered Sri Ramana Maharshi first, but I didn't buy this book because it was, I think it was Jahr. Because of all the books, many books, one was turned like this, and I saw it, and I looked at the face. I was attracted to the same picture. I think that's there.
Yeah.
And I started to read it, but I couldn't take it in. I just felt, what is this? It sounded so mental for me. And then I put it away, and I found Ramakrishna again. Gospel, the word gospel, gospel of Ramakrishna. So he became my next great finding, and I could relate to his teachings. Although as a Hindu, I was not used to all these gods and goddesses and goddess Kali, he was the devotee of Mother Kali. So
But this was enough to get you interested about India, perhaps, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. Instead of going off with the Muslims.
Well, not so much. No. I still was aware of them. I didn't. At first, these brothers in particular, there's something was very clean about their energy, but there's also sometimes very aggressive. It was a strange mix. And so that was something there. But with Sri Ramakrishna, I loved his story and the way it was written. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna by Mahendranath Gupta, who is a Sanskrit name, just M. And he had written it in such a powerful way that it was like he was absent, and just to make the book so. He brought me into Ramakrishna's room, basically.
Right.
So the fascination to go to India was to go and sit in Ramakrishna's room, and because I felt like I knew it in my heart.
Right.
I never went, by the way.
You never went there in the end?
I never reached
that
place.
Calcutta?
No, Papaji caught me and put me off to the side. Yeah.
So you better tell us how you met Papaji, I think, because I know this is a beautiful story in Rishikesh.
Yes. I arrived in India.
Adjust the microphone a little bit.
I arrived in India in 1993. And I was in Delhi just for like 7 or 8 days, just landing actually in Delhi. And then I knew nothing about where to go in India. I had no Lonely Planet guide or nothing like that. But I saw in a kind of little poster on the wall in my hotel in Connaught Place, I stayed there, that there was bus trips to Rishikesh, and I'd heard the name Rishikesh before. And I thought I'd just leave my things in the hotel and just take a small bag with some change of clothes to go to Rishikesh for the weekend to see what it's like there. And took a bus, went to Rishikesh, and I never went back for my things for 6 months. I never went back.
Right.
I stayed on the road. I kept being there, and but one point while coming up from the Ganga in Lakshman Jula, I got there, and a car pulled up into the little square there, and one Indian man was with me, and they called, and so he went over, and they were asking for directions. It was unusual because I was not used to seeing so many cars there in those years. And they were talking to the man, and then the man in the back seat looked out at me and said, "Hey!" I said, "Me?" He says, "Hey, man, do you remember? I know you. Like American Voice. I knew I didn't know him. I said, no. Yeah. No, sorry, you don't know me, man. You know? And then a woman next to him leaned out and says, "Hi, don't you remember us? You know, we met and so and so." And I said, no, you have not met, you know, because I knew we hadn't met. Must be somebody looking like me or something. And the driver of the taxi, that seemed like a taxi, Indian man, says, "I know you." And then we all started laughing because there were some other friends as well. And I said, "Wow, you've got a twin brother here," and this type of thing.
Right.
And then we laughed. And I said, no, I've just come here and stuff. And they were like this. And then they turned and left and went up. And I walked up to my hotel. And when I got to my hotel, the same people were getting out at my hotel.
Right. Right.
And then they said, "Look, you know, we're having dinner in a short time. Please join us." So I joined them, and they told me about Papaji. Our master is Sri Punjaji, and he used to come here quite a lot and stayed here a lot. And we just came for a weekend, and please join us. And I found a book, Wake Up and Roar. They came and showed me this book, and I saw a picture of Papaji for the first time. I didn't feel anything particularly, though. I was just polite. I said, "Oh, he's very nice." But then after 2 days, they were returning, and they came and asked me, they knew my room, and asked me, "Please, I'll come back. I feel you need to meet Papaji. I really feel you need to meet Papaji." And I'm saying, well, kind of like, you know, one day and this type of stuff. I said, "Please come, we got seats in the car." And I didn't feel to go. And I said, "Could you give me the contact for you? I'll catch up." And after a while, they gave me a contact, and then they drove off. And immediately when they left, I felt, what have I done? What have I done? I should have gone with them, you know? Because as they left, Rishikesh just became very flat. Like all this excitement just, like I should have gone. And I stayed there just for another 2 days. I went to Haridwar, took a train, and went to Varanasi. I went to Varanasi for 10 days. I was in Varanasi. And then one day I got up and I felt, I need to go to see Papaji. And I took a train to Lucknow. And yeah, that's how I came.
And that was
to
in
Papaji.
'93.
That was in the, yeah, that was in
93. Yeah.
that was in 1993. And yeah, that was a big moment. It was more impactful in presence than it was on the picture. At first I never knew any Indian person so big, you know. But I sat there and I knew he was something because his presence was so captivating for me, you know.
I mean, in those days, if you wanted to have a kind of contact with him or talk with him, you would write a letter to him.
Yes, yeah.
Did you ever try doing that?
Oh yes, but it wasn't for a while. I was in satsang for quite a while, sitting and, you know, sitting and listening and relating. And what had happened was before meeting Papaji, my heart was just full of love and just peace and love. I wasn't talking about it with anyone. I was just in this state of peace and love. And when I met Papaji, after a few weeks, I was feeling more space. Feeling a space. The love and the peace was still there. I started experiencing like space, like spaciousness, you know, but not with any content. It was like a kind of spaciousness, but it didn't have any content. But I loved the feeling of space. That was it. No? When I was being with Papaji, and then finally I drew up enough courage to write him a letter. And it took me a while to, you know, you're trying to get your words right and everything. And then one morning I went to Satsang Bhavan and they were asking, you know, before, we have letters for Papaji? And I kind of put it up and somebody took it. And I felt in that moment, oh, that's the beginning of the end now. You're in trouble. You either must run away or you're going to get done somehow today. And it was not a pleasant feeling. I went into Satsang Bhavan. I stayed right at the back, as far away as possible. I mean,
Right.
And I kept looking at the pile of letters because I could recognize what my letter would be like. And I was just praying that he didn't, you know, sometimes you don't get the chance to finish all the letters. And I felt, I hope this is one of these days. In my mind, I hope this is one of these days. He doesn't, even one letter was very, very long. And I thought, yeah, I wish it was longer so more time would pass. And then he called me, picked the letter up and he called me, Tony. And then as I stood up, when I stood up, it's like this tension fell away. But there was like a kind of vacuum inside, and I started walking through this big sea of people walking to go to the front. And he started making fun of me already, He says, Tony is a girl's name, Like that, this type of stuff. Anyway, I went and sat with him, and he read the letter. And we have this film of meeting Papa G and him talking, and he read my letter. And he told me, if you wish to discover truth, he talked quite a bit. But what happened, as he was speaking, this rage came up inside me. Like, it was like I didn't want to hear him. I didn't want to hear him. Or something like this, or strong resistance. Then I couldn't hear him. It came up into my ears. My ears started to ring from the inside. Like this, like a siren or something in my head. And I could just see him talking like that. And it was like that. I was in a strange world. But what I heard that came through is him saying, if you wish to discover the truth, you must disappear. He said like this, you must vanish. Because they cannot be God and you. You must disappear. And it became, I just thought like, who is he talking? Why is he talking like this? Why is he talking like this? I felt very embarrassed. I felt like, very exaggerated feelings inside, And I could not wait to leave. Then afterwards he said, okay, like this. And then he said like to come and sit here. And the next person came and he started talking. I did not want to be anywhere in that room at all. I couldn't wait. And then when satsang was finished, I didn't want to speak to a single soul. I waited my way out. I came out and someone said to me as I came out, like, he really chopped you, or something like that, And it got me really, really cheesed off, And I went to my house and I said, I'm getting out of this place, I'm getting out of this place. This is a place I should have left a long time ago. This is not luck now. This is bad luck now. And this type of stuff. And sizzling. And I remember going back and starting to pack my things. But it was a hot day. And I was even hotter inside. And I said, okay, I need to go out. And I went out into Indianagar, into the little one road by where they have all the shops and things. And I was just like a frying sausage or something, like this thing. And then I went and sat under this tree. And I just could not get this noise from out of me. I had not felt noise like this in all the years, from 1987 until 1993. That's 6 years. I had not felt any feeling like this. There was just peace. But on this day, no peace. And it was, I was sitting there, and then one lady came and talked to me, who came up after me to see Papa G, and then I felt, okay. I go home, and I finish packing, and I leave. I'm taking a train, I don't know where I'm going, but anyway, but here, And I started walking. And I must have gotten to like about, 20 meters, and just like this. I often go like, but there was no sound. It was like, it's like the next moment didn't come. That's what it feels like for me. It's like I vanished. Vanish meaning I could not find who I was. I could not find any context that I could remember who I was. I don't have any. I couldn't remember any family. I couldn't remember being a child or being this person. I couldn't remember anything at all of me. I couldn't find. I remember looking in my hands like this. Of course, I was there. My body was there. But the usual identity of myself was not there. And I remember looking in my hands and I was thinking, but there's nobody in my hands. There's nobody here, you know. And it was like this, and I looked around onto the street where all the traffic was coming, rickshaws and traffic, and they were just like moving, but there was no sound, like slow motion. And there was just this infiniteness, this infiniteness. I don't know who I was, because I was not me, but I was there, something. And there was just this infiniteness. I couldn't find a reference. There was just infiniteness. And then Papa G, a picture of Papa G came into the infiniteness, you know, like he was like big as the sky or something. And then and I think that's when I met Papa G. Yeah, I realized I had not met him before. And it was just so powerful. And I just felt I need to be at his feet. That was what happened. And I started running. I wanted to go to his house. And I was running. And you know what happened? Because I don't. I found myself back at my house. I found myself back at my house. I don't know what happened. I was like a little child running to meet his father or something. I never went to his house. When I was in my house again, I saw him. I was at my house. And I was just, I don't know. I recognized everything. I knew where I lived and everything. But there was just emptiness inside this body. It was, it's funny because it felt like it was a no feeling. I felt like a no feeling. That's how I felt there. But yeah, I couldn't go back. I didn't know what it was. But gradually after this time, and then slowly some idea of myself was coming back. It never quite came back the same way. Some little tendencies came back, but it was this was very, that was what happened. Then, of course, I never left. I went back to satsang, and then stayed until Christmas. That's when I met you. Yeah.
And did you have another meeting like that? Did you write another letter, or were you just
No.
content to be there?
I was in a funny kind of bliss emptiness place. Like I knew the kind of bliss, the joy, and the love, and the silence from my earlier time, my pre-India time, which was still there, but the space thing was new for me. Like there was just like this sense of unending space that came. And then after this thing with Papa G, it was like it's here, it's in here. I couldn't put words to it. I couldn't put words to it. But I stayed with Papa G until that Christmas when he came out one day and he gave me this rose and said, "You're very beautiful." I was not expecting it, because actually I was hoping that one day he would call me and kind of owned me, "You're the one I'm waiting for." But that never happened. But this day he gave me this rose and told me, you're very beautiful. And I took it. And that's when this man Leslie came to me and says, "Oh, this is very significant. The master give you this rose," and like that. And then he said, "You have to come to my house. You have to come to where I live, I make dinner for you." And I really don't like going to people's houses. I don't like it, But he really called me. He said, no, this is very significant. You've got to come. And gave me the address. And that's how I came to the house. Yeah.
And after that, you left and went back to London, perhaps, or you went to see
What
one
happened is
Christian?
after this, I left about the time of my. I left and I went to. I traveled down. I told Papa G, I want to go to Ramana Ashram,
Ah,
and he
okay.
told me, yes, you go there
Right.
and you come back, and said yes, and then I left, and I traveled down to Mahabalipuram. I was in Mahabalipuram for like maybe 10 days or so. And then I felt it was time to go to Tiruvannamalai, and I went there. Then that was a very different feeling for me. Because even Mahabalipuram, went there, so beautiful. You're by the sea, it's very pleasant and very quiet. But I was more missing Lucknow, which is dirty and heavy and hot and sticky, but it was just had this Papaji perfume. Then I went to Tiruvannamalai, and I met there. I quickly adapted to there. It felt a bit like Jamaica for me. And
The Blue Mountains.
Yeah, it just had a different kind of stillness. Every place else felt a bit rough, but Tiru felt a little like a step back 400 or 500 years in time. I had this kind of feeling because I only see this kind of, clay earth, it just had a very strong, impact in my heart. I felt very much at home there. When I went to Sri Ramana Maharshi ashram, there was a particular quality there that is very, very strong sense of reverence is there for me. Just like that. And I took to it very quickly there.
So how did it go from there to starting to share yourself? Yeah? Because it must have been a few years later you started sharing in your own meetings.
Yes. So what happened is that after this time, I went back to, I went to Tirupati, a place up in the famous temple in India, and then I came back. I had another experience on the way there. I think it was in Mysore or one of these places. I stopped at one bus station waiting for the buses, and I remember sitting there waiting, and I saw this father playing with his son, little boy. They were playing, and they were in the sunshine, and he was lifting the boy up and stuff, and I just saw very clearly that there was nobody, there was no one in the bodies. There was no father in that body, and there was no son in that body. There was just consciousness. It was just conscious. It came very, very clear for me. And that stayed very, very deeply within my heart, because I felt that it was like an eternal lesson of seeing, and like not just an experience that passed. It was like a revelation that of how things will be seen from now, something like this kind of way. So I went there and I came back, and then one day I had again this strong feeling to just return to Lucknow. It's very strong. I could not account for why it felt so strong. And I took a train, and on the train coming up, I went back to Lucknow, and for the first time in India, things were not flowing. I couldn't find a place to stay. It was very hot. I had diarrhea. It was not good. And then what happened is that yes, I had this diarrhea, and I said, what is unusual? Why is it not flowing? Then I went to satsang, and with Papaji, at the end of satsang, he goes into the small room. What happened is that after that satsang, I found myself at the door. I never go there, knocking on the door. And I still don't know why I'm knocking on the door. But somebody opened the door, and I says, I need to see Papaji. But I don't know what for. I said, who is speaking these words? Because I didn't have no plan to see Papa G. And she came, she says, yes, come. And I went inside and I went right to his feet, just like this, went right there. And I put my head at his foot and I said, Papa G, whatever is going to happen in my life, I cannot leave it at your feet now. And then he kind of did like this, and I stayed there like that. And then after this, we had it was there maybe another 15 minutes, and then he left. He came out, everybody came out of the room. And outside there was, people outside, and there was a man doing fax. When people did those days, there was no email, and they were doing fax, and I saw my name on the blackboard, and I went to him, and I paid him for the fax. And I knew this was something significant. I opened it, and I had a message from my friend in London that said, please call home urgently. And I went to the telephone box, and I called. I called, and she told me, I'm so sorry to tell you this. I said, what? And she said, Jason, this is my first son. Jason's just died. I thought, yeah, why? What? And she told me that he had gone out with his girlfriend. He was just like 1 month from his 23rd birthday or 24th birthday. She told me, he went out one night. Apparently he went out one Saturday and he met with his girlfriend, and they came back, and they arranged to meet on the Sunday. One Saturday went on the Sunday to arrange, and then she was waiting for him. He didn't show, so she called, and Grandma went upstairs and found him dead. He just drowned in his sleep from this viral pneumonia. So I had this news, and then I knew that I had to leave, and I went to see Papa G, but he was having massage, and so I came back to London, and then I came and buried my son. Yeah, that was how I left India. And each time I left India, being with Papa G, it was always something sudden, like just need to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And after that situation with your family, you then found yourself sharing maybe with friends?
I came back to London, and then I didn't know what I wanted to do for work. I knew I didn't want to work for anyone. So I saw that there were people selling incense in the market. And I felt, I love incense. And I saw that these guys, Muslim brothers, were making incense locally. And I thought, I'm going to try and sell incense. It was a very, very big thing for me to do that. Because in those days, I was teaching at college before, and I ended my teaching. And then, so I came back, I had no work. I started, I was sewing. I had a sewing machine, little and one. So I made some incense bag out of velvet, a red one, and some things. I started to make these things called Thought for the Day. Did anybody have any of those? Thought for the Day. It was like I would write down aphorisms or sayings by great masters and things that came to me. I would write them down, and I write them on a piece of paper, many, and then I cut them out, and I roll them on some kind of, not matchstick, but like a toothpick, round ones. I get some drinking straws. In those days, I got them from McDonald's. I get McDonald's, cut them, and I roll and put them inside the drinking straws. And then I started making thousands of them, And then I have them in my bag, and I used to call it the Thought for the Day. And I used to go around in the market, Brixton Market, ringing my bell, and incense, like this, and people come and they'd buy incense from you, and they'd take a thought for the day. It started like that. They would come and they say, "Can I have a thought for the day?" It became very popular. They'd put their hand in the bag, they'd take a thought, they'd read it, and sometimes somebody would come and ask, what does it mean, this thing? And I would have a little talk with them about it, and quite a few people were coming. What does it mean? And yeah, I started meeting more serious people, who wanted to ask questions about life, but I wasn't so much inclined to speak. I used to just sit with people. I didn't feel like talking. I didn't know what to talk about. There was just this emptiness. I didn't know what to talk about. And then gradually a few people came that I met, and then I realized that one girl came to me, and she was one of my customers. One day she came to me, and very, very agitated. And I said, Teresa, her name was, Portuguese girl actually. I said, what's the matter? And she says, please, 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 you need to help me. Can you help me? Can you show me where I can go to turn off my mind? She said like this, please, either help me or show me where I can go to turn off my mind. My mind is like, please help me. So I said to her, I don't know anywhere to send you, but maybe we can have a cup of tea together. I said to her like that, and she said, I know you can help me. I know. I said, whoa, 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 just tea, just tea, just tea. And like these are taught for the days. They
great.
came like this, you see.
Right.
I was making these, and these I was Zenji. This is very good.
Right,
and you see like this.
We should check out what he got. Yeah.
And then you see what would happen is that I had these like this, and I'd write on them initially by hand, and then I started to write them and then photocopy them. Then later on, we started to type them. Now this one he just gave me this one, and this Sagadatta Maharaj saying, before the mind I am. I am not a thought in the mind. The mind happens to me. I do not happen to the mind. And since time and space are in the mind, I am beyond time and space, eternal and omnipresent.
Wow.
So I was doing this thing.
Strong stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, it was not so strong. In the beginning, it was more personal, that people could relate to it, you know?
Right.
Like things about how to be more peaceful and how, this type of thing. The later on, they became more like this.
And did you get this in the Brixton market?
What? This? No, because I still make them.
Oh, you still make them now?
Yeah. And people sometimes take them now. So obviously, when for the Sangha, they became much more Advaitic and direct. But in the beginning, it was just for people to experience peace and about kindness and not taking life too seriously and this type of stuff,
Right.
But anyway, but now and again there will be some stronger ones in there. So this girl asked me like this, if I can help her to turn off the mind. And then she came to my house, and she first started to tell me, I said, whoa, what have I done to ask her to come? Blah, 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 blah. And then something just said to her, like, stop. And say, just back up to this point. When you say this point, yes. Tell me what you mean when you say, I just talk like this. And she went back, and her mind just fell away. And she was there like this, and she was in the house. Went into this sort of state, and she was there for like 4 hours. Even we cooked and had dinner, and everybody finished, and she was still just in the state. And from then, she started to bring other people. You must come here. And I started to meet people in my little room. My room in London, where I live, is about the same size as this. Satsang started in a room this size. And at first, I was just sitting with people and not talking. But then some people came, and they started, A lady came, and she said that she went to Papaji and to meet Papaji, but when she went to meet him, she learned he just died. And she was so grief-stricken by that. And then she came back home, and then she was telling someone, and they said, have you heard of Mooji? And he lives in Brixton. I said, what? And then she started to come. She brought some other people, and then they started to ask me questions about consciousness, and I didn't know what to speak about it. I didn't know how to speak about consciousness. And I prayed to Ramana, and I just prayed to God and just say, you're bringing these type of people, and I don't know how to answer them, so you have to answer them.
Right.
Like that.
Right.
And since after that, I found whatever question they were asking, I knew the answer. I just knew the answer like this. I just knew. I could see the answer.
Right.
That's how I started to meet with people, just in my room, and that went on for, a few years. A few years. That
Right.
went on, yeah.
Right. And then I think I met you. I don't know exactly when, but I met you in Tiruvannamalai at Mount Arunachala. Yeah. And you were already giving then public meetings. A bit more people would come.
Then okay, so between this time, quickly I can say, a woman came from Ireland, and she came to see me, and she had a nice encounter, and she told me she had a group in Ireland that used to meet every Wednesdays in silence, but they would love to have someone they can talk to, and I agreed to go, and I went there, and there was a beginning of traveling, because until then I didn't want to travel. I was quite happy in my room.
Yeah.
I don't like traveling anyway, actually, that much. And then she started to come like this, and then we started this traveling with people like this, and then what happened now? I went to Tiruvannamalai one time back for a holiday, because I remember how quiet it was. And I felt I'd love to get away and go back to spend some time in Ramana Ashram. I'd already started having satsangs then.
Right.
In people coming, and I wanted just to get away, and I came to Tiruvannamalai. I went to, just nobody know me. I was very happy and very quiet. But after 1 week, I got a bit bored. I was staying in this place. I said, what am I doing? Just walking around. And then one day I was sitting in a cafe opposite Ramana Ashram, one of these chai shops there. And I was sitting there. I was keep going in the morning. And then one morning I had a feeling like some people looking at you, like if you're looking on the ground and there are people there. And I just had the feeling they're looking at me. And I just looked up and I saw these people looking at me like this. Not at my table, another table they were looking. And so I caught them actually looking at me, So they, can I talk with you? One of them said, and he came and asked me, tell me, we have been coming here for 3 days because I saw you here. And every time we come, we feel this sort of special feeling of peace and love and so on. Are you doing it to us? That's right. I said, I'm not doing anything. I was just sitting quietly here. I never noticed until today I noticed you. He said, wow, it's incredible. I said, do you give satsang? And I was a little stuck because I didn't know if I want to say that. And I said, I talk with people sometime a little bit, And then they said, we have some people who would love to speak with you. And then I was a bit bored anyway, just walk into this. I said, okay. And so I took them to my room, and I said, okay, what about here? And my room was about as big as this. And they said, no, that's a bit too small. I said, what? How many people are you talking about? And they said, just a few more. If we find a place, can you come? And I said, okay. And then they found this place, Ragini's.
Oh, right.
Remember Ragini's?
Right. Where the lunch
and then
was,
I went there for the first time, and then I went there. I thought, wow. I went there. There was like 70, 80 people. I was not expecting that, and I started there. And then from there, this 80 people. Then I was there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then they said that another teacher is coming from there. So I said, oh, it's good. This one, my time is always fine. I'm good now. And then they came, another guy came and told me, no, there's a house over there near Ramsurat Kumar ashram, and the lady's away, and she wants you to use her house on the roof. So we went there, and that's where we started having a lot of satsangs. And it just turned out to be a very, very crazy time. Yeah, very
And you
crazy
just
time.
mentioned the Ram Kumar, yeah?
Yeah, Sri Yogi Ram
And I
Surat
think
Kumar.
you have probably quite a good connection with him.
Yes.
Did you meet him in person?
Yes.
Yeah?
What happened is that I went to, I heard because Ram Charan, who you know.
Right. He's going to be in the same book, actually.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
I was in Lucknow at Papaji's one day, and he was talking to me. He liked talking. And he told me, oh, yeah, here you're going to Tiruvannamalai. And I said, yeah. And he said, you know, there's a famous saint there. They call him the divine madman or the beggar or something.
The divine beggar, I think.
Divine beggar.
Right.
You go and see him, go and see him, go and see him. And I thought, yeah. But I wasn't really interested in anybody but Papaji actually at that time now. So I went down there, and then one morning, one time I heard that first I went to one satsang by Isaac Shapiro.
Right.
He was there. I went and saw him first time I see him. It was very nice. I came back. And then one friend of mine says, you know, Sri Yogi Ramswat Kumar just lives around the corner from where we're staying. And I says, you mean the divine beggar or something?
Right.
And he said, yeah. And then I said, let's go. And we went around to his house, the small house he was living before. And I saw people going in and coming out, because he was sending people away. And then I went in and pronounced him, and he said, sit down. No? So I said, wow. I was sitting on his veranda with him, and I was looking at him, you know, and I just loved him straight away. He was so natural. He was smoking a cigarette like this. He had a cigarette to his finger like this, and he smoking a cigarette like this sometimes. And then I went a few times, and each time he said I should sit down. So I sat with him. And then one day my friend Orlando said, you know, can I take a picture with you? And he and Ma Devaki came and we took this picture together. But I had a very nice feeling with him. And I've stayed thankfully in a very nice connection with Ma Devaki and over the years until now.
All right. She's from Australia, is that right? Or from
No,
Holland?
Ma Devaki was one of
Devaki,
yeah, she was
was
one
the
of his earliest,
Right.
And she's the one now who I feel she's holding his presence so much there.
Right, yeah, I saw some
very
pictures
close to her.
today,
She's beautiful.
Yeah. It's very interesting how destiny works, you know, because as you know, I've been going to that town for 30 years, I think, and I never met her, you know. And then today I was looking at the pictures that you have of her, and I remember that last year only, my Trey, who's going to be in this book, she told me I should meet her, but I never did it. And now today, seeing your pictures makes me resolve to go and meet her, actually. Because she looks very beautiful, actually.
She's very, very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. I also met Tuli Baba.
Tuli Baba, yeah.
A very beautiful meeting with him. Very strong meeting.
Right.
And
with Tuli Baba, I had also a very intimate connection.
Yes,
and I used to visit him every year for many years, actually, many years. I used to take a bus of people from my retreat to him. He always used to hit me when I got there. I would bow down and he'd hit me. So we had a very nice connection.
Had a very nice connection. And he and...
But what about Ramana Maharshi? You don't speak so much about him. You were drawn to that place.
You know, to be honest,
because you had found his book, in
yes. Actually, when I first the book, and then later when I actually met Papaji, then somebody gave me the book of David Godman called Be As You Are.
All right.
And I started to read that, and so I entered into Ramana's teachings in a way that I could understand. And maybe because of meeting Papaji,
right.
You know, these things happen like that. That
he
instantly,
had this picture, of course.
You know,
He used to sit. Sorry.
Yes.
He used to sit with the picture of Ramana behind him.
Yes. And so when I met Papaji, I found I could read about Ramana much more easily. And of course, when I went to Tiruvannamalai, I spent a lot of time going to Ramana Ashram and spending time there. I had it's just to go and sit, you know, go and sit there quite often. And
because it's a little bit interesting for me that most people know Ramana to do with this question, who am I?
Yes.
But actually, around him in his ashram, there was a very devotional kind of energy, actually.
Yes.
And I see here today, I spent the whole day in your community here, Portugal, there's a very devotional energy here. And I remember when we last spoke in a public meeting, you were talking about devotion. Would you like perhaps to say a bit about that?
I feel that there's a natural devotional temperament aside of myself, like this love for God, and but it's not a kind of it's no kind of wailing and crying kind of devotion, you know. I mean, sometimes I found myself crying, but it was very, very, you know, it's quite impersonal actually, very, very powerful like this. So I have this very deep side like that, a kind of impersonal intimacy that I feel inside, and you know, when I started to share satsang. The first part about love and all this, I never spoke about it. It was just how the atmosphere felt in there, and I wasn't speaking in that time. No?
Right.
I didn't know what to speak about. It was only after I prayed and I asked, you know, God, you're bringing these people who want to know about this thing, and also Papaji was not teaching self-inquiry. He spoke to you in self-inquiry in a way.
Right.
And that was very much his personal flavor of it, but he didn't teach self-inquiry like Ramana, you know, sort of, you know, help you to do that more.
Right.
But I was not employing Ramana's teachings so directly. After this opening came, after the prayer, and I started to talk, and then it was like whatever people were asking, I began to see the answer inside my heart. I just saw the answer. I felt the answer. I could see the answer. I started to speak with people about it like that.
Right.
It was how it came, you know, and it felt it was much more direct way, you know, like it was not just asking them just to believe, and I felt that normally the people who are more, say, who are bhaktas, you know, devotional type of people.
Right.
I'm very comfortable with them, largely.
You're comfortable with them?
I am comfortable with them,
right.
but I'm also comfortable with also more philosophical-based people also, you know.
Right.
And normally those two are not, the Gyanis and the Bhaktis are not usually sharing the same tent, you know.
Right.
But I felt comfortable with both, you know. I didn't particularly make any distinction, you know.
Right.
But I found that as I began to share with people, it was coming out more in like Gyan Yoga, more, you know, that's how it's coming, you know.
Right.
And it felt I could relate, and my language was very much like that.
Right.
That was strange because I don't have that kind of background of, you know, that kind of way, but it grew very, very, very strongly, and self-inquiry became such a sharp sword actually for me.
Right.
And so I can speak with people who are more of the devotional temperament, and also those who are more philosophical or more appeal to Gyan Yoga. I'm very, very comfortable with them. And
you were saying just before that somehow when a question was asked, you somehow knew the answer. And
I didn't know the answer before. I know the answer then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
There's some kind of magic involved in everything we're talking about in a way, because this energy, when you're available, is just coming through, yeah? And you know the answer, but it's not a personal knowing of the answer. Is that right? Maybe.
Well, as it came, you know, then as I began to share, I could see that, you know, what had happened with Papaji and so on, that that's where it was coming from in a way. It's coming from here, you know, this seeing, you know, because something became very empty. It was just very empty, and I still am empty. So only from there, like the way that my life is expressed. I don't plan my days. If I do, I have to write it in chalk or something, because I don't follow anything there. The day is totally spontaneous. Anyone can tell you the day is totally spontaneous. The way things unfold It's just unfold by that intuition or inner guidance. It just happens like that.
Well, I've experienced that today, actually, because
Yeah.
we've had our own kind of dance today. And
Yeah.
there's been a dance today, let's say. And at the same time, what I've witnessed over the last, 10, 15 years, that people are more and more attracted to you. You're getting incredible response to your meetings, to your presence, and so on. And it seems to me that your devotional aspect is, I don't know how to express it, but it's maybe a big part of that.
Yeah, I feel what people feel is the love that is inside my heart. Because I never encourage anyone to be devotional outwardly.
Right.
I don't, because many of the things, many of the things that happen here are for those people who are devotional more.
Right.
And even the artists and things, I don't go to them.
Right.
And even you heard this morning, Turia was pointing and saying that, there's these bhajans going on there live. And I said, yes. But they came about because this one, when I used to go, in Rishikesh, I used to go across to Ramjula, and there's a simple temple there. And I used to see these old sadhus just doing bhajans, and I like bhajans in this simple way. Country bhajans like this, I love it,
Right.
And I came back very, very much touched in my heart because I felt it was like the land singing. And so I asked them, I particularly asked one of the ones who was very close to me, who was a bit restless and like this. I said, you start doing bhajans, and he started doing the bhajans. But I don't myself go to like pujas and arti, and I don't have in that way. The love is, I don't know, it just comes out, this love, which is a love for, it's not personal actually. It doesn't feel so personal.
Right.
And the talks that I have, the guidances are very, very direct, So I feel that people, I don't tell people to do things. I don't tell them to do things. If they are following with me, instructions and so on, then, I'm very, very straight when I speak, from very much, it seems maybe more what you may call Advaitic perspective, but it's totally practical. It is totally practical for me. And because I was not raised with so much, kind of intellectual pleasures and stuff. For me, it has to be very practical.
Right.
And then over the years, I see that some shades develop. And now, we're teaching to something called the invitation, which really helps many, many people to come to that direct realization, to come to it easily. Because over the years of sharing self-inquiry, I found many people, they come and they listen and so on, but I didn't see anyone in whom I feel that it's really flowered. It has to kind of combust into spirit or something. I didn't see it happening. But now I see it much, much more from this, through the invitation.
What you're calling invitation.
Yes.
But does that contain who am I, or is it completely different from that?
Yes, and also all my satsangs, all of them, is to guide people out of this forest of personal identity and into the state of presence and then to the absolute. Right. All of our satsangs is like that.
Right.
All of them like that, And
so could you say something about what you're calling the invitation?
The invitation came because, over the years, I see people coming, and I saw that some people don't have that type of intellectual temperament or outlook. They're more they have a love for God. And then if you have love for God, I also show people how to make simple prayers and how to, just in a very simple way, and to encourage them in this, But the invitation came because some people came, and I saw that it started, I feel, one of the early times was I was in the United States, and I remember the man who made Call Off the Search with Papaji, he found me in the United States, and then he said, can I interview you? And I said, yes, you can interview me. Then he came, and just before we were about to start the interview, he said the interview will be for people who don't have necessarily a spiritual background. can I have an interview with you and you don't use any spiritual words? Okay, so you could have told me that before, but I like the challenge. And so I had to speak in a way that wasn't using lots of Brahman and consciousness and all this kind of thing, just simple word. And that was I liked that. And then from then on, I saw that there are people who have a quickness to grasp things intellectually, but that it wasn't being assimilated to the point where it became the expressions of their life. It's like they have a department in there where they understand things in that way, but deep down they were missing, the fragrance was not there. So what happened is that I started to give some people exercises when they came here, like things like this I am exercise, or the eye watching exercise, some different exercises. And then when they're by themselves, I said, do this. It's just 5 minutes. You sit with it 5 minutes and so on. And then at one time in India recently, it just came. I was at a yoga festival, they invited me there. And it just crystallized in that moment very powerfully when I was guiding people to, like someone would ask me a question, and just led them through, and just said, just leave this for a moment. Don't get rid of it. Just leave it outside. Just leave this for a moment and come with me, leave them. And I found a lot of these exercises I could do, and then they just end up in where they are. Actually, it was the most simple way, and it just burst open in India, and even here in Sahaja, when we see that Sahaja really changed when people started listening to the invitation. We play that now every day here.
Right.
And I remember once I was invited to, in Spain, Madrid. They invited me to a talk there. We went to a huge old bull ring, huge place, huge place.
Right.
And many thousands of people came. And it was badly organized. The whole thing was badly organized, but all these people came, and I went there, and I went and I just stood up in front of all these people, and I just gave the guidance for like about 15 minutes, and the place became
Quiet.
just completely quiet. And since then, I've found that has been a simple tool to help people to come to the recognition, to experience it without any kind of too much mental, kind of gymnastics or something, just simple.
Right.
So I always was looking for some things that work very simply, because I know what they are. I know who lives here inside.
Right.
And it's just to make this switch, where we're looking from this place and you're seeing now from this place. So that has been one of the powerful exercises, and we play here.
Right. Right.
And we made a little booklet about it, and people can listen to it online and stuff. And it's just like this. It's going like that. But I still continue in my satsangs when I guide people. Very, very simple inquiry.
Right.
The guidance now. And for me, it's alive, because the old way of doing, Atmavajara and, this, it wasn't getting so much result. It was more attracting people who had a very sharp intellect, but wouldn't go much further, And now anybody can benefit from satsang. Everybody benefit from satsang. And yet at the same time, it has this flavor of love also. But it's not sentimental love, would you say? There's no sentimental love here at all. We don't, But we show respect to all the masters, and which I feel really is helpful to. I feel many people who are practitioners of Advaitic guidances could do with a little bit of that warmth also that come from Bhakti Yoga, but not to put them through that. I don't even recommend this, because as people discover the truth inside themselves, love starts to come out of them as well too, whatever they may say.
Right.
It just happened like that.
Right. Right. Well, walking up and down your kind of main street today, meeting people here or there, I was asking jokingly, using English humor, are you paid to be so happy? You see?
Yeah, actually, that's a thing actually, because
The people are really happy.
they are happy.
They're really
They're
happy.
happy.
Because
We don't preach happiness.
Right.
We don't. You got to be happy.
Right.
We just that is just how people are, and sometimes people come here and they feel very much kind of like, what's all the happy faces, and they get a bit cynical, but they see that it's nobody's being happy for them. They're just how they are.
Yeah,
and they're just
yeah.
became very, very stable and
Yeah. And
self-conscious in
for
the
me, it's that sort of
non-personal way.
happiness coming from silence.
Yes.
I don't know if it's like a cool happiness or something.
Yeah, yes. Like a kind of sober
Yeah.
happiness. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
kind
very
of
beautiful,
like,
actually.
yeah.
It's very beautiful. Because it's very natural, actually, because
Yes.
human beings were not designed to be unhappy, I think. They were designed to be basically in their nature, and the nature is happiness.
Thank you. Very good.
So we made it, huh?
We made it, John.
Thank you. It's very beautiful.
Thank you so much. I said that whatever it's last minute here for me and blah 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 blah. And I said, oh, we don't know this. I said, you know what? The day belongs to God. I cannot see that you come, because I've always, when I spoke with you, I always feel, that we have a fresh meeting, and I've seen the work you make, and have respect for the work you do, and so on. I couldn't see you coming here, and it doesn't work. That's why I said, don't worry, the day belongs to God. Don't worry.
It mostly worked, so
Yeah.
we don't have to worry about the bits that don't work, didn't work.
Yeah.
And I can say I'm very, very touched by your community. I can be completely jealous because you've got wonderful people, and you're developing a wonderful place, very unusual place. And I wish you guys well with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And blessing always that whatever we do from a pure intention, pure heart, whoever this is, that of course the fruit of that will always be good. The fruit of that will always be good. I remember a saying by this saying that says, no one has ever become poor by giving,
Right.
And I can take it beyond this kind of the money thing. No one has ever become sad by being open with love. It's just something is just like. But we don't. I never sit down and said, today we're going to talk about love. I once tried, one time we talked about relationship, because everybody want to talk about relationship. But for me, it doesn't work like that. I just go and sit, and whatever needs to happen today is going to show you. I'm not going to show it. It's going to show up, and it feels very natural way.
Well, I don't know there. You've got your close guys here. Did you have a good time?
It was beautiful. Thank you. Delighted.
Look at their faces.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very touching.
Thank you. And thank you.